Hello, everybody. So today I want to provide updates on a few stocks. The first one is HIMS. I finally got some news about the market. Mr. Market finally gets the difference between Tirzepatide and semaglutide. HIMS was up yesterday 4.4% because Lilly finally did its lawsuit that was intimated in prior news articles, where HIMS dropped more than 10% multiple times because of this association in the news article. Oh, HIMS is a telehealth company that sells a GLP-1. Those news articles didn't make the distinction between Tirzepatide and semaglutide. HIMS has never sold Tirzepatide. Dare I say, very few companies ever sold Tirzepatide. And so HIMS sues the companies that were selling it. And of course, HIMS was not one of those, because HIMS has never sold it. And frankly, the only companies that Lilly is suing are what I'm going to call very small boutique firms with a very low in online presence. One of the three that is getting sued seemed to me like they only had an Instagram page. The other one is a $5 million company. Very, very small company. Very few people were actually selling Tirzepatide. Very few. HIMS didn't do that. HIMS was obviously not sued by Lilly, as they do not sell it. And so the fact that the market dropped over 10% over these news by association, or fell in sympathy, as an article was saying, was ridiculous to me. The market finally got it. Lilly is not a threat to HIMS. HIMS has never tried to sell the Lilly Zepbound generic. They've never tried doing that. So I'm glad we're out of this quote-unquote third storm. And there's another one that I see coming. And they keep going. They keep going with these articles. I am going mad here. They keep going with these articles. Today, a bunch of articles on all of the different websites are like, oh, DEA set to extend COVID-era policies on controlled substances. People in the comment section saying this is bad and stuff. And all of these articles associate various companies because they gotta have a ticker. You gotta have a ticker symbol next to the article. And HIMS is a ticker symbol that is always put in the article. And let me tell you, perhaps a video that I'm going to have to make in the next few months. HIMS does not sell controlled substances. They don't sell it. Why is HIMS even mentioned in these articles about the DEA expanding COVID-era telehealth prescribing rules for controlled substances when HIMS does not sell controlled substances? They should not be in these articles. It's just that when the journalists write these articles, they just need to find a ticker symbol to add next to the article, and they do no research. And it annoys me so much. It annoys you so much. In fact, HIMS does not sell controlled substances, not only, but they actually actively direct people away from controlled substances. So when I look at one of the most famous controlled substance, obviously, is Adderall, right? The ADHD drug Adderall. So when I look for him and when I do some research, and I type HIMS, right, and I try to see HIMS, well, HIMS, not only do they not offer it, but they actively direct people and readers towards natural alternatives like coffee, tea, or ginkgo biloba, whatever that is. These are leaves. Tea is a leaf. Ginkgo is a leaf too. They say, oh, use coffee or all of this. They try to warn people, and they say, oh, coffee, tea, or ginkgo. Again, I don't think HIMS would ever take the risk of prescribing such, I'm gonna say, such controlled substances, but such debated substances. These are heavily debated substances. I think HIMS acts ethically and with prudence. And until we know the long-term effects of actually ADHD drugs and Adderall, and until we know more about it, I like that HIMS is taking prudence, right? HIMS is prescribing compounds that have been around for a very long time. Like when they prescribe metformin for weight loss, that's one of the most understood compound out there. I think they're acting ethically, and they're not going for a money grab. This is not the case of a lot of companies that are offering this Adderall online, like, right, ADHD online, like this is another one, talking about Adderall prescription, and you can get a diagnosis online. It's also a good business move, in addition to I think being a good a clinical move. In addition to that, I think it's a good business move because at some point, maybe I don't know about that, but at some point, maybe they will not extend that COVID era telehealth prescribing rule at some point, and so these companies who prescribe ADHD Adderall drugs online, these companies will not be able to do it anymore. Or they will continue the telehealth of ADHD drug, but they will at some point, I believe, put stricter policies, because you don't want some of this stuff to become into a public health crisis. And again, this is not something I cover. I don't cover controlled substances. Doctors, when they prescribe controlled substances, they actually need to have a DEA registration. It's not like any doctor can prescribe it, right? You need to take training. This is stuff that I'm just glad that HIMSS is not getting into. This is like a quick way to make money for some companies to prescribe that. I'm sure there's a need for it, but right now, this is not the state of the art, and right now there's a lot of debate about these substances, and I'm glad that HIMSS is staying away as long as it's not confident. This is a company that is moving slowly in the space. Do you remember how long it took them to study GLP-1s and actually have the better holistic weight loss offering, with GLP-1 being just one of the options, and then they actively prescribe other options than just GLP-1 for their weight loss offering? This is a company that is not like a money grab, and this is something we're fighting with all the time. Like, back in the early day, this is just a quote-unquote D-pill company. That was back in the early days of this company, and now people are like, oh, it's just a GLP-1 story. No, they are trying to establish a consumer brand for healthcare, a consumer-centric, customer-centric brand for healthcare, i.e. one that's going to have customer satisfaction at the center. And this is why I am glad that they're not rushing. I'm glad they're not doing that. And I am not happy with the news just adding HIMSS or whatever company they find as a ticker symbol. Oh, it's telehealth. Oh, they must be prescribing it. And you don't do some research to see whether HIMSS actually prescribes controlled substances. So this might be the next footstorm. We'll see. All right, I'm done with HIMSS. Let's talk about TransMedics. When I did my video about my super gems on Sunday, I'm upset that I forgot to add TransMedics. I don't know how this one slipped by and I didn't put it in my spreadsheet. Yes, someone pointed out in the comment section. TransMedics squarely fits into what I would call a super gem, i.e. a company that has it all, a company that grows revenue at more than 30%, a company that is cheap, under 0.25 on enterprise value over gross profit over revenue growth. This company is growing at 0.23, so it's cheap, and a rule of 40, I mean, you're at nearly 100. So yes, obviously, TransMedics fits in there. Over the past 5.5 years, their average annual return has been 37%. This is a two-moat, I'm going to call it a two-moat approach company, where on the one hand, they are their organ care system for lung, heart, and liver. These are FDA-approved devices that can keep an organ alive for longer, multiple days, when dry ice is a very uncertain way to do organ transplants. These keep organs alive for multiple days. Even if you transfer an organ locally, say, which is rare because there's long wait lists and there's compatibility requirements, so it's rare that you transfer locally. But even if you were to transfer an organ locally, this would be a better system because you can keep the organ longer, and so they have an FDA-approved product, the only one. So that's MOTI, quote unquote. That's one of their barriers to entry, and another one is an airline. And airlines, are known for being one of the highest barriers to entry business, even though they are traditionally absolutely not profitable. But I'm going to argue that in the case of TransMedics, the airlines are actually profitable, because what is their own airline, their own planes? What are they replacing? They're replacing renting out a private jet, which is how organ transplants have been done in the past, where in the past, organ transplant, you would have a surgeon remove an organ. The organ would be placed on dry ice. The dry ice would need to be put on a private jet where it flies maybe 1,000, 2,000 miles on the other side of the country to the compatible recipient. and then it would come off a private jet and be transferred then. And sometimes you had to do it at night. You couldn't do it during the day. The surgeons needed to be available. The private jets oftentimes were not available because maybe you have a football game and all of the rich people are at the football game and there's no private jet available for rental. So this is why they bought an airline. And in their context, an airline is a profitable mode, and which is rare because airlines, even we know they have modes for sure, but it's not a profitable mode, so it's not a valuable mode. But in this case, they do, and their OCS system, the FDA approval, of course, protects them and grants them that right to a near monopoly in the new way, in the new tech. They have a monopoly on their own tech. They're competing with dry ice, so it's not exactly a monopoly, but if their tech wins, they're going to have a natural monopoly as a result of having the better tech. So I think this is a very exciting product, very exciting company, and that's why it's predicted to grow revenue at 84% over the next 12 months. That's why the Rule of 40 is at a 96. So this stock is definitely what I'm going to call a super gem. And let me finish with two companies. I guess I'm only going to talk about Tesla, but when I talk about the Powerwall of Tesla, I talk it in the context of Enphase. So Enphase reports earnings tonight, Tesla tomorrow night. So I'll be talking more about these companies, but let me talk about the Powerwall. And one of my go-to YouTube, there's a lot of YouTube channels on solar on YouTube where you learn a lot of stuff. One of my go-to is Solar Surge. I recommend you look at this video from Solar Surge from 2 days ago about the no more Powerwall. Powerwalls are sold out. And if you've been following Tesla Solar, you know this is a recurring thing. This always happens with Tesla Solar. The products are hard to get. Tesla products are hard to get. So the Powerwall is sold out. Apparently, was that too good to be true? What happened? Did they underprice it, right? If you sell out, that could mean you've underpriced the product and there's too high demand compared to what you priced it at. So that could be one reason. This kind of feels and remember me of the Tesla solar roof tile. So this has had I guess a storied history, but not in a really good way, where sometimes, some years it's available, some years it's not available. It's been back and forth. It's been a roller coaster, what's the wait time for the solar roof tiles, and they're very hard to get. It depends on your area. They're difficult to install. I see things like sometimes it takes 8 months to install, 12 months to install. There's random cancellation of Tesla solar projects. Tesla has had a lot of highs and lows when it comes to solar. They haven't been consistent. It seemed last week when I covered it on the channel that their Powerwall was really a hit and they were going to do really well. But if they're already sold out, the installers who gave it a shot and who were hopeful about Tesla and all about Tesla, well, they don't have the product anymore, so they have to go back to Enphase. So anyways, shortage of Tesla Powerwall freeze. This is Reddit, by the way. And apparently, there's a problem, found a fault, which was causing a lot of failures on the field in the Powerwall free. This is Reddit. Take that with a grain of salt, right? We don't know if it's for sure or not. But I've seen it on many forums, on many websites. I've seen it on Twitter. There's a lot of people that say that the Powerwall, you can't really get it, or it's tough to get right now, or they're back ordered, right? Sounds good. Oh, it's back ordered. Well, it's not available. So this goes back to my initial stance. I have had a long-term stance about Tesla solar. Let me just say, I am the polar opposite of a Tesla bear. Tesla is my largest position after Bitcoin and Bitcoin derivatives, and the fact that Bitcoin and Bitcoin derivatives, mostly MicroStrategy, are my first position is because of look at the run-up in MicroStrategy. That's the reason why it's my first position, right? I haven't sold. Tesla is my second largest position right now. So I'm a very pro Tesla person, but I don't invest in Tesla for solar. I look at Tesla solar as the icing on the cake to my thesis, right? The one energy product that I am bullish on with Tesla is the mega packs, right? The mega pack and the mega factories, and these mega packs installed for utilities, for big companies. I'm very bullish on that. To a lesser extent, I'm also bullish on the Powerwall, but they have to manufacture. They have to manufacture it. And the issue is that every single Tesla product is competing for batteries. And which batteries goes into which product depends on the origins of the batteries and some battery chemistries and battery origins are competing for the subsidies, right? Because the subsidies are not always eligible for every battery. It's a mess. At a higher level, Tesla has to optimize the number of battery available that they have, whether these batteries are eligible for a tax credit or not in the United States, and then where do you put it? Do you put it in a Model 3 or do you put it in a Powerwall? Where are you going to make more money? They have to balance all of that, and so they're battery constrained. They're constrained from the right battery that are eligible for the credits, and this is something, of course, that SolarEdge and Enphase, they may get into that battery constraints for getting the solar credits as well, and the tax credit, right? The IRA, the 7,500 federal tax credit. There's rules they have to follow. Everybody's kind of battery constrained, and so right now they have a shortage of a Powerwall. Remember a few years back when they had a shortage of cars, and you had to wait 6 months to get the cars. So, to win, and so that's their downside. Is at least Enphase, all of their battery are gonna go to battery walls, to wall battery. All of their battery are gonna go for their home battery. All of the batteries they can get, they will be earmarked for home battery uses. Tesla, the batteries they manufacture and the batteries they can get, they can go into different products that are competing for that battery. That's point number one. Point number two is that in solar, I believe, and this is obviously not true of selling a car. You buy your car online, so you don't have to deal with dealerships. Tesla doesn't deal with dealerships anymore. But in the case of solar, which is in the construction world, right, in the construction business, you still have to ask yourself, as the provider of the consumer electronics material, in that case the battery, as the provider of the product, you have to ask yourself, who's your customer? And in the case of installing solar on the roof, the customer of the maker of the inverter, the customer of the maker of the battery and the solar panel, that customer is the installer. The installer is the customer. The homeowners are the installers' customers. In many ways, the homeowners are the consumers, but the customer, the buyer earlier in the value chain, the buyer is the installer. So you have to convince the installers first, and the installers are going to be very sensitive, if not upset, if they just pitch the Powerwall to a customer at the dinner table, to quote battery. They just pitch the customer is all happy about the Powerwall, and then they have to call the customer and say, oh, by the way, it's not available, it's back ordered, there's been an issue, I don't know when I'm gonna do the project. And then maybe a week later, they get another phone call, and the installer says, well, do you want to get Enphase? Enphase is in stock. Why don't we go with Enphase instead? And the customer goes with Enphase. So the installers is key, and this is something Enphase has repeated over and over and over again. It's about winning over installers, and then it's the installer who will offer, sometimes just Enphase, sometimes Enphase versus SolarEdge, sometimes Enphase versus Tesla, but my guess is that most installers, when they are faced with a customer, they will offer a DC coupled solution and an AC coupled solution, and that AC coupled solution that is offered is always going to be Enphase because they're the leader in AC coupled. Now, when it comes to DC coupled solution, they may offer SolarEdge, they may offer Tesla. There's a lot of options. They may offer their own homemade solution with some Fronius inverter and some kind of makeshift installation. They may offer a mix and match, but the AC coupled solution that's always going to be shown, in my view, is going to be Enphase, and then it's the homeowners who decide. But the customers of solar equipment makers today, these customers, they are the installers, because homeowners, the majority of homeowners, do not install the battery themselves. They do not install the solar roof themselves, and this is why there's things that I've described, like, for example, the fact that a Powerwall, you need a team, you need a crew of maybe 4 or 5 people because it is 300 pounds. Enphase's battery, you only can install it with 2 people fairly easily because it is a light product. There's a lot of technical consideration that the installers have that do not matter to the customer. Now, I want to be fair because, as you know, I'm very bullish on Tesla, very bullish. I see advantages for Tesla Solar. There's a lot of advantages. One of them is that it integrates with Tesla vehicles. There's a high integration with Tesla vehicles. And unfortunately for Enphase, a lot of the non-Tesla cars are not winning right now. The market share of Tesla vehicles is up, contrary to what everybody was saying just 6-9 months back. A lot of the traditional auto manufacturers have scaled back their plan. And so, to me, this is looking more and more of a monopoly-like situation, an iPhone-like situation, where we're going to have many, many more Tesla cars than previously envisioned, just because they're the only one growing the sales and everybody else is decreasing and scaling back electric cars. Tesla's the only one growing the sales. And so if you get into a world where, I don't know, the market share of new EV sales is something like 60 or 65% of every single electric vehicle sold is a Tesla, well, these people who have a Tesla, they have a Tesla app, they're going to be very compelled to get the Tesla roof, the Tesla Powerwall, they get the Tesla rideshare service when it finally comes. So the more Tesla cars are sold, the more the Powerwall becomes compelling because people want to stay within the Tesla ecosystem. That's the one thing that Tesla is going for it, provided it's available. And it's not right now. And the other thing, of course, is that Tesla is a high status product. I've pointed out many times when I drive around in the US in fancier neighborhoods, the Powerwall is displayed proudly. It is a product that is a high status product. It's a point of pride. It's a well-known product. And it's a premium product, and so a lot of people wanna go with that. The Enphase image is seen as a premium product by the installers, but it's not really well known of the public. Tesla is well known of the public to be the premium install. So they have things going for them, they have things not going for them, but the competition is not as straightforward, and saying that Tesla is going to take over everything is obviously not as straightforward when you see things like shortage, sold out, and the Powerwall not available. I hope they get back on track. Obviously, this is going to matter much more for Enphase than it is for Tesla. For Tesla, it is still just a side business. So, this was not investment advice, no financial advice, just entertainment. Hoping you were entertained and entertained only. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X, comment. You know what to do. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.